The mind trick billionaires use every morning, what? If I told you that the wealthiest people on the planet don't start their day checking emails or drinking coffee, they start by hacking their brain's operating system in the first 20 minutes after waking. Most people stumble out of bed and immediately surrender their mental state to external inputs. They're programming themselves for mediocrity before breakfast. Behavioral economists have uncovered something that separates high performers from everyone else. The first neural pathways you activate each morning set the cognitive trajectory for your entire day. This isn't New Age manifestation nonsense. This is hard science. Your brain exists in a unique neurochemical state for approximately 20 minutes after waking, a window that neuroscientists call the hypnopompic period. During this brief interval, your prefrontal cortex is coming online while your subconscious mind remains highly suggestible. Eastern meditation masters have exploited this state for millennia. Modern psychology calls it the morning cognitive prime. Both traditions describe the same biological opportunity. Successful people understand that controlling your first thoughts controls everything that follows. Today, I'm exposing the 10 specific morning mind tricks that billionaires, peak performers, and cognitive elite use to program their brains for dominance. These aren't habits. They're precision neural interventions that exploit your morning brain chemistry. Part 1. The Subconscious Hijack Protocol. Most people poison their morning mental state within seconds of consciousness. They grab their phone and flood their brain with other people's priorities, problems, and content. They wonder why they feel reactive and scattered all day. Your brain in the first 8 minutes after waking is in a theta wave state, the same brainwave frequency used in hypnosis. This state makes your subconscious mind exceptionally receptive to programming. Neuroscientists have discovered that morning thought patterns establish default neural pathways that your brain runs on autopilot throughout the day. Whatever you expose yourself to first becomes your mental baseline. This is technique number 1 out of 10, the subconscious hijack protocol. For the first 8 minutes after waking, remain in bed with eyes closed and deliberately visualize yourself completing today's most important task with ease and excellence. See it in vivid detail, the actions, the outcome, the feeling of accomplishment. Keep your phone in another room to eliminate external programming. Your subconscious mind accepts this visualization as an instruction set for the day ahead. The theta-dominant brainwave state allows this mental rehearsal to bypass critical filters and directly program your behavior patterns. Implement this protocol for 7 consecutive mornings and observe how effortlessly you execute tasks that previously required willpower. Part 2. The cortisol leverage. Technique. Everyone complains about morning stress and anxiety. They try to eliminate these feelings through meditation or breathing exercises. They're missing a massive opportunity. Your body produces the highest cortisol levels of the entire day within 30-45 minutes after waking. This cortisol spike is called the cortisol awakening response, and most people let it dissipate without harnessing its power. Cortisol isn't just a stress hormone. It's a performance enhancer when used strategically. Research reveals that cortisol sharpens focus, increases alertness, and mobilizes energy. Elite performers don't fight morning cortisol. They channel it into high cognition tasks. This is technique number 2 out of 10, the cortisol leverage technique. Within 45 minutes of waking, tackle your single most cognitively demanding task: strategic planning, complex problem solving, or creative work. Do not waste this neurochemical advantage on email, social media, or routine tasks. Schedule exactly 90 minutes for this high-focus work before your cortisol naturally declines. Your brain operates with enhanced processing power during this window because cortisol has primed your neural networks for peak performance. Bypassing this opportunity means working against your biology for the rest of the day. Leverage your morning cortisol surge tomorrow and experience cognitive performance that feels superhuman. Part 3. The identity reinforcement method. You wake up every morning without a clear sense of who you're supposed to be that day. Your identity feels fluid, undefined, waiting for circumstances to shape it. This identity ambiguity is why most people show up as different versions of themselves depending on external conditions. But high performers use a specific morning practice to lock in their identity before the world makes demands. They don't wait to see what kind of day they'll have, they decide who they'll be. Psychological studies demonstrate that morning identity affirmation creates behavioral consistency and decision-making clarity throughout the day. Your actions align with your declared identity automatically. This is technique number 3 out of 10, the identity reinforcement method. Immediately after your morning routine begins, State 3 identity declarations out loud in present tense. I am focused and productive today. I am confident in all interactions. I am someone who follows through. Repeat each statement 3 times while making eye contact with yourself in a mirror. Your brain hears these declarations from both your auditory system and your visual system, creating dual-channel reinforcement. The combination of verbal articulation and visual feedback activates multiple neural pathways that encode this identity as your operating system for the day. Your decisions and behaviors automatically align with these declarations without conscious effort. Deploy this method for 10 consecutive mornings and notice how your daily performance stabilizes at a higher baseline. Part 4. The dopamine sequencing strategy. Your brain's reward system wakes up hungry for dopamine. Most people immediately satisfy this craving with easy hits, checking notifications, scrolling feeds, or consuming entertainment. They've just taught their brain that dopamine comes from passive consumption. This ruins motivation for actual achievement throughout the day. Neuroscientists have identified optimal dopamine sequencing that programs your brain to crave accomplishment instead of distraction. Research shows that delaying gratification in the morning retrains your reward circuitry to associate pleasure with effort, not consumption. Your motivation system gets recalibrated toward productive behaviors. This is technique number 4 out of 10, the dopamine sequencing strategy. Complete 3 small accomplishments before allowing any dopamine-triggering consumption. Make your bed, complete 10 push-ups, drink a full glass of water. These micro-wins activate your reward system through achievement rather than passive input. Only after these completions do you permit yourself to check your phone or consume content. Your brain begins associating dopamine release with task completion instead of instant gratification. This sequencing reprograms your motivation system to crave productivity. Within 14 days, you'll notice delayed gratification becomes easier because your reward circuits have been retrained. Start sequencing your morning dopamine tomorrow and watch your daily drive toward achievement skyrocket. Part 5. The cognitive priming ritual. You attack your day without preparing your mind for the specific thinking required. You try to be analytical when your brain is still in creative mode, or creative when your neurons are locked in logical processing. This mismatch between required thinking and brain state creates unnecessary friction and poor performance. Elite performers use a morning priming ritual that pre-configures their brain for the day's cognitive demands. They're not leaving mental state to chance. Brain imaging studies confirm that deliberate cognitive priming activates specific neural networks before they're needed, dramatically reducing task initiation time and improving output quality. This is technique number 5 out of 10, the cognitive priming ritual. Review your calendar for the day and identify your primary cognitive mode needed: analytical, creative, social, or execution. Spend 5 minutes consuming content in that domain. Read technical material for analytical days, review creative work for innovation days, or watch inspirational content for social days. This priming activates the relevant neural circuits and retrieves associated knowledge from long-term memory. When you begin actual work, your brain is already operating in the correct cognitive mode instead of requiring 20 minutes to warm up. Mental flexibility increases because you're matching brain state to task demands rather than forcing mismatched processing. Prime your cognitive mode every morning for 1 week and eliminate hours of inefficient thinking from your week. Part 6. The metabolic activation protocol. Your brain consumes 20% of your total energy despite being only 2% of body mass. In the morning, your metabolic rate is at its lowest point after hours of fasting. Most people try to think clearly while their brain is running on minimal fuel and oxygen. They're attempting high-performance cognition on a starved system. Successful people understand that brain performance requires metabolic activation, not just mental effort. Research demonstrates that brief metabolic activation in the morning increases cerebral blood flow by 35% and improves oxygen delivery to neurons. Your thinking improves because your brain has the resources it needs to fire properly. This is technique number 6 out of 10, the metabolic activation protocol. Within 30 minutes of waking, perform 7 minutes of movement that elevates heart rate, jumping jacks, stair climbing, or rapid walking. Follow immediately with 16 ounces of water and a source of healthy fats to fuel neural membranes. This combination floods your brain with oxygen, glucose, and structural building blocks simultaneously. Your neurons fire with increased efficiency because they have abundant resources. Mental fog dissipates within minutes as cerebral blood flow reaches optimal levels. Cognitive processing speed increases measurably throughout the entire morning. Activate your metabolism before thinking begins and experience mental clarity that lasts for hours. Part 7. The Intention Crystallization Exercise. Most people start their day with vague goals: be productive, get things done, or have a good day. These fuzzy intentions provide zero behavioral guidance. Your brain needs specific targets to optimize performance, but you're giving it ambiguous directions. High achievers spend their morning converting vague goals into crystal clear behavioral intentions. They're programming their brain with precise execution plans. Psychological research on implementation intentions shows that specific if-then planning improves follow-through rates by 300%. Your brain performs dramatically better when it knows exactly what to do and when to do it. This is technique number 7 out of 10, the intention crystallization exercise. Each morning, write down 3 specific intentions in if-then format. If it's 9 a.m., then I will work on Project X for 90 minutes. If someone interrupts me, then I will politely reschedule. If I feel distracted, then I will take 3 deep breaths and refocus. Be ruthlessly specific about triggers and responses. Your brain encodes these as automatic behavioral scripts that activate when conditions are met. Decision fatigue decreases because you've pre-decided your responses to predictable situations. Execution becomes automatic rather than requiring constant willpower. Crystallize your daily intentions every morning for 21 days and watch your follow-through rate triple. Part 8. The Emotional Baseline Calibration. You inherit yesterday's emotional residue when you wake up. Unresolved stress, lingering frustration, or ambient anxiety carries over into today's mental state. Most people never reset their emotional baseline. They just compound emotional baggage day after day. But there's a morning technique that allows you to manually set your emotional starting point regardless of yesterday's experiences. You don't have to be a prisoner of your emotional momentum. Neuroscience reveals that emotional states are more malleable in the morning before they become reinforced by the day's events. You have a window to calibrate your baseline mood deliberately. This is technique number 8 out of 10, the emotional baseline calibration. Spend 4 minutes recalling a specific memory when you felt genuinely grateful, joyful, or peaceful. Relive it in vivid sensory detail. Focus on the physical sensations in your body during that memory. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between remembered emotions and present emotions. It responds to both identically. By deliberately recalling positive emotional states, you're manually resetting your nervous system to that baseline. Your brain begins the day from this elevated emotional set point instead of yesterday's stress residue. Interactions feel easier and challenges seem less threatening because your emotional operating system has been recalibrated. Calibrate your emotional baseline for 12 consecutive mornings and notice your default mood shift permanently upward. Part 9. The Distraction. Inoculation Process. Your ESO. Day will be filled with interruptions, notifications, and attention hijackers. Most people have zero defense against these mental intrusions because they never prepare their focus system. They react to every distraction reflexively, fragmenting their attention into uselessness. Elite performers use a morning process that inoculates their brain against distractions before exposure. They're building cognitive immunity to attention theft. Studies on attentional control show that pre-commitment strategies reduce distraction susceptibility by 60%. Your brain maintains focus better when it has been explicitly instructed what to ignore. This is technique number 9 out of 10, the distraction inoculation process. Each morning, identify the 3 most likely distractions you'll face: specific people, notifications, or impulses. Then explicitly commit out loud, "When distraction appears, I will ignore it and return to my task." Visualize yourself successfully dismissing each distraction. Your brain encodes these scenarios as behavioral templates. When real distractions appear, your prefrontal cortex automatically activates your pre-committed response. Resistance happens unconsciously because you've already decided your behavior. Willpower isn't required because you've installed automated distraction protocols. Inoculate yourself against today's distractions every morning for 2 weeks and watch your sustained attention span double. Part 10. The Peak State Anchoring Technique. Professional athletes use specific rituals to access peak performance states instantly. They've created neural shortcuts between physical actions and mental states. Most people never build these associations. They hope to feel motivated but have no reliable method to generate it on demand. But you can engineer your own peak state trigger using a morning anchoring practice. You're installing a psychological switch that activates optimal performance. Research in behavioral conditioning demonstrates that consistent pairing of physical anchors with desired mental states creates reliable state change mechanisms. Your brain learns to associate the anchor with the performance mode. This is technique number 10 out of 10, the peak state anchoring technique. Each morning after completing your other rituals, perform one unique physical action, a specific hand gesture, stance, or movement, while deliberately experiencing confidence, focus, and energy. Hold this state for exactly 60 seconds while maintaining the physical anchor. Repeat this pairing every morning for 28 consecutive days. Your nervous system creates a powerful association between the physical anchor and the peak mental state. After conditioning, performing the physical anchor instantly triggers the performance state on demand. You gain the ability to access peak consciousness within seconds whenever needed throughout your day. Install your peak state anchor starting tomorrow morning and create on-demand access to your highest performance mode. The morning mind tricks billionaires use aren't random. Habits. They're a systematic approach to neural programming. These 10 techniques work together as a complete cognitive optimization system that exploits your brain's morning vulnerability. The ancient wisdom traditions taught that morning spiritual practice determined the quality of one's entire day. Neuroscience has now revealed the precise biological mechanisms that make this true. Both paths converge on this reality. The first 60 minutes after waking are the most influential minutes of your day. The mental programming you accept during this window determines everything that follows. You're either deliberately installing empowering patterns or passively accepting mediocre defaults. The billionaires, peak performers, and cognitive elite don't have better brains. They simply program theirs intentionally every morning. You now have the exact protocols they use. Your transformation doesn't start tomorrow or next week. It starts the moment you wake up and execute your first morning mind trick. Your dominant self is waiting.